Hello. So I am starting. I made this little starting soon thing. Kind of fun. Okay, cool. So let's pause this thing. Pause. Yeah, so as I just tweeted, I'm going to be building an autocomplete component based off of some ideas from Ryan Florence in this great video that you can watch. And actually, I'll just go ahead and paste it in the chat. So there you go. It's fantastic. Yeah, just that's all I got to say about that. Okay, cool. So I do have this autocomplete thing here. Let's see. Actually, we'll just minimize that. Probably spend most of the time coding at the start, so we can actually pull this out. If you want to see, I don't know what happens like if you get automatic updates and stuff, but there's the code sandbox I'm working in. And yeah, I'm gonna just be working on this until stand up at 11:30. So wish me luck. I do have kind of a start, and so I'll be referencing some of the stuff that I've already created, but I mostly want to kind of do this from scratch, so we'll see how far along I can get. I know that I'm going to need, I'm going to need a couple of dependencies, so I'll just install those now. We're going to want that for something, and then this match sorter thing, going to want that, and I think that's mostly it for right now. Let me just make sure. Oh, actually, there's also I think we've got a couple other things. Yeah, this is great. I implemented something like DOM scroll into view in my own library called GenieJS, and it is not easy. So I'm so glad. Yeah, you can see built with Grunt. Yeah, good old days. Require.js is referenced in here somewhere. Yeah, but yeah, there you go. If you're using Require.js, neat. So yeah, anyway, I'm just glad that this DOM scroll into view thing exists now, so I don't have to worry about that. I also am going to need glamour and glamorous, because naturally I'll want to style with those things. And actually, Glamour 3.0 is technically the latest, but I want to... yeah, I think that's a mistake that it's the latest because it's not actually released yet. So maybe somebody should report that. Maybe I should do that. Okay, and then yeah, glamorous. We'll soon be releasing version 4, hopefully. Just need to write a code mod. So if anybody wants to finish writing the code mod, that'd be super cool. Even just like code samples would be really helpful. Okay, actually, I'm gonna pull this Twitch thing out, so I can have reference to you nice people commenting in nice ways. Get as much of this space as I can. Okay, so the API that I'm trying to implement is in here, IndexJS. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to export a autocomplete component that only accepts, well, really it only accepts onSelect. Everything else, like the CSS prop will be because it's a glamorous component, so we can style with CSS, and yeah, that's cool. And then you control how things are rendered and where they're rendered and when they're rendered. Well, maybe not entirely when they're rendered, but this video from Ryan, he talks about, he's building a tab component, and he talks about how the web already has contextual or compound components where you have like a select box, and inside of that select you have options, and these options only show up when the select is clicked on, and yeah, and so I think that's kind of cool, yeah, that kind of idea. And I really like the idea of being able to control how things are rendered and where they're rendered, when they're rendered, that kind of thing. And so that's why I'm building building this. So a couple of things that it's going to have, it'll also have components that are useful for the autocomplete. This input, autocomplete input, where we put normal input things on there. It's also a glamorous component, so it'll have CSS prop. Arrows, so like a drop down arrows on the right, so you can click on it and pulls it down the menu. Yeah, and you'll be able to just pass normal prompts to it. So the nice thing about this, what I love about what Ryan showed, is that like normally an autocomplete, you just have a single component with bajillion options, and if you wanted to change the way things are rendered, you have to add another option to say, oh, let's put the arrows on the left or something like that. So yeah, with this kind of API, if I wanted to put arrows on the left, I would just, I don't know how to, what just happened? Oh, thank you, Redux. Oh, that's right. That's why I disabled Redux, because I pretty much never use it. And that hotkey really bothers me. Redux, DevTools, disable. I don't need to worry about that hotkey. But what is there it is. Yep. So yeah, if I wanted to put the arrows on left, I just put the arrows thing right there, and I can put it wherever I want, which is kind of cool. And it's really straightforward. There's no API to learn. It's just this. And then autocomplete menu, I'm going to put it inside of a React CSS transition group, because I could do that. And that's cool. Yeah, we'll see about that later. I'm not exactly sure how that works. So, but yeah, then the menu is going to use a render callback, because function has children, and it accepts the input value and the highlighted item. And then I have this advanced filter thing, which I'll create with match sorter, that will take all the countries, and I'll probably make like a list of those somewhere, and pass the input value, and then that input value will be based off of whatever they're typing in here, and the menu is going to pass that along to me. Then I'll slice those based off the max items, and we'll map those to autocomplete items, which will communicate with the autocomplete that like one of them is clicked on, and that kind of thing. So yeah, and then inside of the autocomplete item, you can render whatever you like. You'll have access to the item, and so you can, you don't have to do anything special there. Okay, cool. So that's the API that I'm hoping to be able to build. I'll just get rid of that. I don't need that for right now. And I actually don't need this for right now either, so I'm just going to get rid of those. Let's see, just kind of cut the fat here. I'm going to just go ahead and create this this advanced filter thing really quick. I'll copy it from what I had before. We'll import match sorter from match sorter. And that's the advanced filter. It takes the items and the value. And then let's also create the items. So we'll say const countries. And you know what? I don't need to worry about this. We're just going to do, we'll just do straight up match sorter. Say countries, and countries would just be an array: Germany, United States, United Kingdom, I don't know, Spain, Mexico, Canada. Oh, don't want to leave anyone out, but this is going to take forever, so we'll just stop there. Unless somebody's watching and really wants me to put their country in there, I'd be happy to. Okay, cool. So we've got a couple countries. We're going to do match sorter with those. And input value, slice those. I'll get rid of that too. Don't need that right now. I also don't need this. We'll just cut all the fat. The stuff that I know we'll be able to do once we're finished. So we'll say the default value will be Spain. And we'll do this like a sane person, although I think Prettier could probably do that for me. Whoops. Get value. We'll have a default for get value. We'll do that later, where it just returns the value itself, because in our case these are just the strings, so that's fine. Placeholder, I'll say I do want to be able to have a placeholder, and we'll just say enter a country. And on focus, on change, autofocus, all of those things we can get rid of for right now, because this is an input, so we can assume that, yeah, this is here. And we'll say on select, alert, item, alert, item. Okay, so when you select one, we'll alert that. That's good. Okay, and arrows, we'll just render that. I don't care about when that's clicked. And good, so most of the fat is taken out. We also have this error thing that I'll have rendered. And what I think makes sense for the autocomplete is that it knows when to render the error and when to render the menu, and it won't render them at the same time. I think that's an okay assumption to make, that it will render the error if there's an error. Yeah, we'll have to explore that a little bit later. Okay, yeah. So I think we'll get rid of that for right now. So this should be enough to go off on for now. Oh, here, let's get rid of this thing. We'll just do the item itself. Okay, cool. That actually is significantly less stuff, but it's also great because it's extensible. As you can see, it's pretty straightforward to just do, do what we were doing. So let's go ahead and implement this. So a couple of things that we're going to be exporting. Well, we'll just be exporting autocomplete, and autocomplete will have monkey patched onto it, input, arrows, and menu and item. So let's just create those really quick. These will probably all be stateful, except for maybe the arrows. So let's go ahead and we'll export default autocomplete. And here, let's import React from React, import, and we'll want component as well. Import, nothing else right now. Well, sure, we'll import Glamorous from Glamorous. And we'll create a class called autocomplete, extends component, and it has a render naturally, and we'll return div hello world. And yeah, then we'll also have a class for the input, render return div input, and we'll have a class for excuse me, menu, extends component, render return div with menu, and a class called arrows. Just seems kind of like, what if I wanted to render anything else other than just arrows? What if I wanted, like, I could have a million things that I'd want to render, and that would, like, clicking on it would expand the drop down. So how could I make this so that I'm gonna just skip the arrows for right now, and we'll get rid of the arrows right here. So we still need an item. So we'll do class item extends component, render, my shift finger, return div item. Okay, cool. so far so good. Then we're going to add all of these as statics to the autocomplete. So static input equals input, and static menu equals menu. And looks like we're getting some syntax issues here. That no. Okay, yeah, static item equals item. Okay, yeah. It's just weird, the syntax highlighting, but let's just see really quick. We're going to get a hello world because it's not actually rendering anything else, which makes total sense. So in our case, we also want to render the children. So let's go ahead and render the children. For us, we, because I know that we want to eventually accept CSS prop, I'm going to take the props and spread it across a glamorous div, I think. Yeah, so we'll say glamorous div, this dot, whoops, spread this dot props. There, and then we get the menu because it's applying the children. And then for the menu, we're going to, let's see, the menu is going to have a render callback. And so that's going to be this dot props dot children. So here, actually, let's extract children and then take the rest, this dot props. And we'll apply the rest to a glamorous div. Okay, forget this. We're going to do div. I know what an all caps or a capital div is. And we'll spread the rest on there. And we'll do the same here, just a div. Let's get rid of that. And actually, I don't need split view, just editor right now, so I can open that up again. And yeah, and then the children needs to be passed something, what was it? An object with input value and highlighted item. So those will come from probably context. Let's see. I did kind of implement this a little bit. Let me just kind of remind myself what I did. Let's see. That's in our new autocomplete. The input. So somehow we're gonna, okay, yeah, there's actually, the way that we're gonna accomplish this, because we don't have control over the rendering of stuff, like there could be many things within the autocomplete and we don't know where they're gonna put things. We're going to create a context around this autocomplete. And so everything within autocomplete will have access to the instance of the autocomplete, so it can set state on it and it can do all kinds of things. So that's one of the things that Ryan always says, and I also love about about React, is you can put this really ugly mess inside of a box and expose a really beautiful API around it. That makes it just super nice to use. And so the ugly mess, you might say, would be what we're about to do with context, but I don't think that it's all that bad. So let me just remind myself how we're doing the context stuff. Okay, so we have this autocomplete is going to have, let's see, yeah, get child context, and we're going to return our, let's do, should I make it a static on autocomplete, what it's called? We'll just do that right now. Let's see, context, name. Yeah, I don't know. Why not? Somebody wants to shoot themselves in the foot by using that? Okay, well, we'll see if I really want to do that. We'll see. Autocomplete. And actually, I guess I could make this, well, yeah. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. So we're going to have this autocomplete be available on context, and then context. Yeah, okay. And then each one of these instances of these components are going to, inside of their constructor, this accepts props and context. And so we'll just do super props and context. I think it actually accepts a third parameter, which is, I think, called the updater. But yeah, we don't really need access to that right now, so that's all right. We're going to say context dot input equals this. Oh my goodness, now everything has access to the input. Snap. Somebody's probably watching this like, oh, what are you doing? This is such a bad idea. No, don't worry. It's only going to happen within this file. Nobody else is going to be using these things, so it's just fine. So here's the menu. And now, oh yeah, and the item. So with this one, we're going to have an array of items. And so here we're going to declare, and actually just to keep ourselves static safe or type safe a little bit, we're going to declare these things. So we're going to have menu is null. I don't know, we'll have to look into that a little bit. The item is null to begin with, or items is actually going to be an array. And the input is null. Okay, cool. So then we set those, and on our items, we're going to say item context.items.push this. And then for each one of these, when it is destroyed, we need to remove it. So, because like they could conditionally render something or something like that. So component will unmount. We'll say context.items. We got to remove it somehow. So what's the best way to remove something from an array? Equals, let's see. See, this is why people are afraid to live code, because they're afraid that people will watch them Google things that seem obvious. Remove item from array JavaScript. This is a search that I have done before. I guess we could just do splice. But yeah, let's look at how we do that. Yeah, remove it with splice. Boom. So our array is context.items.splice. The index context.items.index of this. And let's just const index equals this. And just to be safe, oh, come on, JSX, if index is not equal to -1, then we'll do this thing. Yeah, and then just use the index. Okay, cool. And we'll do the same with all of them. So now I'm wondering, this is a lot of the same stuff. It's kind of annoying to do this, but, oh, actually, no. For the menu, see, would you ever want to have multiple menus? Should I do menus? I'm trying to think of a single use case where that would be valuable. And I don't think... why not? This is trying to think of how it would make things more complex. To have multiple inputs, that would probably make things pretty complex. Multiple menus, probably be fine. Typing in this thing, each menu has a different filter on it. When I select one, it needs to update the input. Yeah, okay, so I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be able to have multiple menus, and I don't think that it's going to make things much more complex. If it does, then we'll go back to a single menu. So menus.push this, and then we'll just do the same component. We'll unmount thing to get rid of menus. Okay, great. And then for this one, on component will unmount. We'll also do context.input equals null. Here, let's just for funsies, if the context.input is this, because who knows what's going to happen. There we go. For some reason, when I hit save, or when I prettyify stuff, if anything needs to be prettyfied, it like bumps me up to the top of the, or where my cursor is at the bottom, which is kind of annoying. So hopefully that can be fixed eventually. I'm gonna silence my phone a little bit, alarms only, just because I don't want to be distracted. I've been so distracted trying to build this thing. I've never actually started. So Magic Spawn is asking why I don't need to use new, like to create a new instance of this. It's because each autocomplete is going to have its, well, it doesn't actually have instances of these things. The instances are coming from when I create them here, and so I'm putting them on static so I can access them off of autocomplete directly. So I'm creating instances here. This is just exposing those things. So yeah, that's all. Oh yeah, and this should be autocomplete.context name. There we go. Okay, cool. So now I need to get access to that context because as it is, I am not actually getting the context. And actually, this is incorrect. These references to context should actually be context dot the autocomplete context name thing. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to expose it on the class itself. I'm going to say context name. Here, we'll just move this. Put it there. And then for each one of these, I need to say context name. Okay, that's better. Okay, now I also do need to get access to the context, and that is context types, right? Context types. What did I do here? Child context types. Hold on a second. Get child context is also there. So yeah, you define both. So I need to define the static context types, I think. Yeah. So we'll put those with our statics. Static context types is an object that references the context name. And that is gonna, we're gonna need prop types naturally. Prop types. And we'll import prop types from prop types. And here we'll do capital P because like who does lower cases? Okay, prop types dot object is required. Okay, cool. So yeah, okay, good. So we have our context types. Oh yeah, this needs to be just context name. And you know what? There we go. Now we need to get the context. Let's see. Don't I have to declare that I want context as a child? I thought that I did, but I'm not doing it in what I had before. So let's see. I have a React workshop where I do this. It's a React testing, or Jest. Yeah, there we go. React Jest workshop. If we go to exercises final, components, button. So context types is defined on here. Okay, yeah. That's right. So we have on the autocomplete, yeah, that's supposed to be, sorry, child context types. There we go. And then on each of these, we have a static context types equals the same thing, I think. Let me just make sure. Yep, using prop types. Okay, cool. And the menu needs it, and the input needs it. Okay, now they all have access to each other, which is pretty neat. So if I go, I'm rendering the menu. If I go console.log this.context, we're getting an error. Cannot read push of undefined. Awesome. That's too bad. Let's see what's going on. Oh, these are, oh no, these are instance properties. So let's do a debugger inside of the menu. This is one of my biggest fears in a code sandbox because, yeah, the debugging experience not the best, as you can see. Okay, so let's pretty print this, and yeah, who knows what's going on here. Show those, there we go. Okay, so we have context, yeah, autocomplete, and that has a menu and items and all input. Yeah, the input's been put on there, okay. So what am I doing wrong? Context, context name, menus. So here, let's see, context, context name. Oh, I didn't change it. There we go. Sweet, it is working. Just need to fix a typo. Menus. There we go. And now, input value is not defined. Input value. Where's input value? Probably in here. Yeah, input value. Okay. So, autocomplete here. And when we render the menu, oh yeah, right here. Okay, so input value, that's going to come from state. So we'll say const input value, and how should I just pass all of the state from the menu? No, I need to actually get the input value from this dot input. Trying to think, like, I don't see any reason why I shouldn't just read the value from the DOM node. Like when the autocomplete is, or when the menu is being rendered, just get the input value. Yeah, and then you render it based off of what that input value is. And then when you choose it, I actually do need to set the input value to whatever you want it to be. But you can control that. Okay, we'll just start with getting the DOM node value, and then we can put it in state or something if we really want to. Input value should actually probably live in the autocomplete. Should it? Because when the input value changes, I want to set state and render everything again. So it does need to go to a state. So yeah, okay, there we go. So this is going to be context name, and we'll pull the input value from state. Okay, so let's initialize our state here. It's going to have an input value, which will initialize to an empty string, I guess, or null. Okay, and then let's see. I do allow you to set the default value, like that's just because it's an input. And so based off of that, I should be able to, in the component did mount of the input, will render stuff. I think that the code sandbox does not like statics and member properties because it's not formatting, or like as I hit enter, it goes there, but it shouldn't do that. Let's see. Yeah, see, and all the syntax highlighting comes back. So let's send some feedback. It looks like code sandbox does not like, here, let's be friendly. Hi again, wave. Looks like code sandbox does not like public class fields because the syntax highlighting gets off when I use them or when declaring static fields as well. Also, the auto indentation doesn't work very well when I'm using those features in a class. Thanks for everything you do. This is fantastic. Sending. I love this app, by the way. I just think it's the coolest thing. Yeah. Okay, cool. 206 steps left this hour. Okay, I'm gonna start walking in place. Just kidding, I'm not really gonna do that. I'm actually really bad at keeping up with my Fitbit. Okay, so looking, I've got a random question from Aunt Janice. Does anyone here? Oh. Thank you for mentioning that. That's interesting. You only hear it from the right side. Let me just check something really quick. Thank you for mentioning that. Okay, yeah, so it does look like the left side is a little bit down. Let me fix that. Is that any better? They look to be the same now, so just about. This is a hair trigger, and my children love to play with these little knobs. So I actually have taken a picture of a good configuration, and I can bring that up if need be, but okay, good. Got it. Whew, sorry about that. Okay, great. So when the component mounts the input, then we want to check if there is some value. We should also do this in component did receive props, or will receive props. And so I'm going to make a method here called update input value. And I'm going to be, let's see, I don't think I'll be using that in my render. So I can just do a regular method on here, and I can say, oh, this should be this.context. Oh, actually, that one can be just regular context because we're referencing it there. Oh, but goodness, we're passing it to super, so we'll just do that. Make it all be exactly the same. This.context, this.context, this.context. And yeah. Oh, yeah, here we go, this.context. And this.context. Okay, cool. So, yeah, update input value. You know what I'm going to do? I don't want to have to do this everywhere, so I'm going to say this dot autocomplete. That's like not even better, is it? Autocomplete. We do this dot. Yeah, that's not even better. We'll just go back to what it was. Be explicit, even though it's kind of annoying. Context name, I'm going to change this to... Well, no. Okay, I'm just wasting time. So update input value is going to say this dot context name dot set state value. Input value is value. And we'll say, let's see, if this const autocomplete this dot context name. So we'll say if autocomplete dot state dot input value is not equal to the value, then we'll set state autocomplete. There we go. You can just do that. That's fine. So yeah, then on component did mount, we'll say this dot update input value with the this dot props dot default value. Because they could specify an actual value on the input. Should I? No, because this will be a controlled input, so you won't be specifying. Okay, referencing controlled. This is uncontrolled. React. Gotta remind myself again. Controlled versus uncontrolled inputs. Oh, here's a gist. White screen, okay. Oh, Mark, yes, you have helped me. Oh, haha, this is a Discord conversation here. So, let's see. Yeah, so here you use ref. This is old because we don't do refs like this anymore. But, yeah, so, okay, yeah, so the input value, in our case, we are going to be explicitly setting the input value, I guess. No, we don't have to do that, do we? So user types things in. As they're making changes, we want to react to those changes. So we will be doing the OnChange stuff here. And then we'll be setting the value based off of what it's changed to. So this is controlled. Yeah, okay. Cool. So, actually let's just reference that one more time. Default value. The value Okay. So yeah, we won't be doing default value at all. Or either that, or we'll just be simulating default value behavior. So the so it's kind of like an initial value. So we'll set the, yeah, okay, I'm pretty sure we should be able to just do this. We'll say this is definitely going to be a glamorous input. And we'll say, oops, const props. We are probably going to be pulling some things off of that, but I don't know what yet, so we'll just do this. Input, rest, input. And actually, we don't need anything inside of there. Okay, so for the we do want to have an OnChange, and I did have a handy compose function here that I'll steal. So that way we can have an OnChange, but people who use this can also have an OnChange. So let's see, we'll have an OnChange here. I like to keep this close to the constructor actually. OnChange. This is going to be a thing that accepts an event. And when something changes, we're going to, how did I use this thing? Let's see, what did I do before? Yeah, so we're actually going to do this inside of here just because I want to compose this at the same time. So we'll say this dot onChange equals compose this dot onChange and this dot props dot onChange. So I'll call our onChange first and then the props onChange second. Okay, so now because we're doing it that way, we're still gonna do it as a member or an instance instance function method thing. Yeah, so that way we don't need to worry about this. And so when onChange happens, we're going to say this dot update input value to the event dot target dot value. Okay. And so then with that, we're going to say onChange this dot onChange. Okay, cool. Great. So now we can react to changes. Component will receive props. Or let's see. React life cycle methods. Pretty sure we want will receive props. Come on, facebook.github.io. Will receive props. Yeah, update state. Okay, component will receive props, accepts the next props. And we'll say this dot update input value, next props dot value, or dot, dot value, right? So we're going to be controlling the value though. But if they want to set it themselves, could have like a force value prop, because we're going to be handling the value. What's the API we want? What do we want this thing to look like? So what's a scenario where I'd want to explicitly set the value to something? I can do the default value, and that's fine. Yeah, and the default value would just be, like if we're rendering this, and there's a pre-selected thing, I just do the default value to that pre-selected thing. Okay, I'm going to wait until that problem surfaces. For now, I'm actually going to get rid of this. You cannot change the value. So in component did mount, we set the input value to the default value. If it's different, oh, haha, that was a mistake, to value. There you go. Yeah. Okay, but then our value here then will be coming from our context. So value this dot context, oops, context name dot state. So we get the state from there, we get the input value. We'll just call it that, that's fine. Pass it along. Okay, great. Coolio. So let's just see what things look like broken. Duplicate declaration of input. Find input, where's... Here, let's turn on... Oh yeah, actually, if I turn on the linter, it like cries at my syntax, I think. So yeah, that doesn't work. So I'm gonna take it over to my editor really quick. And we'll just do this. What is it complaining about? Oh, haha. That is a problem. The problem is that I'm importing glamorous input. So I'm just gonna remove that. And then I'm gonna render a glamorous input. There we go. That is better. And now let's see what it's complaining about. Highlighted item is not defined. All right, that makes sense in the menu. Highlighted item is also going to come from state. Okay, where does the highlighted item come from? As the user is like keying down or mousing over, they're going to be doing the key down stuff in the input, and then mousing over events will happen in on the menu. And so this will definitely need to live inside of the context of the whole autocomplete, because yeah, we need to be able to share this state. Here's a slight issue that I thought of when I started doing this earlier, but haven't really quite considered how I was going to resolve the problem. And that is that my items are, the rendering of the items is totally out of my control. And so one requirement that I think will be necessary is that the menu must have children, and those children must be autocomplete items. Unless... See, the reason that won't be nice is because what if you wanted to put like a section things off and put a bar between them? You'd want that to be a div and then have sections of autocomplete items. So as I hit, so it's pretty easy. If I mouse over, I can find the thing that I've moused over, and that's the highlighted item. That's pretty straightforward. And I can do that within the item. I'll do some event handlers in the item. But if I hit the down arrow on the input, then the input needs to say, hey, like autocomplete, the down arrow was pressed, and then autocomplete will need to communicate to the menus that are being rendered to say, hey, the down arrow was pressed. Yeah, then the menu says, okay, that's great, let me, let's see, do we need to re-render based on the highlight? I guess, yeah, like you'd want to be able to like have a little arrow pointing or something. You'd want to have it re-render based off of that. So the menu will say, oh, okay, you know what, we can't track the highlighted item because that could be anything. Who knows what people will do. So instead we need to do highlighted index, and then yeah, let's see, and then each of the items will know when. So like as far as selecting, if we only have the highlighted index, we hit enter on the input once we've found what we wanted. the input says, hey, autocomplete, we hit enter. Autocomplete says, okay, great, menu. Maybe it doesn't have to go to the autocomplete. Maybe it just goes straight to the menu. Item says, or the input says, hey, menu or menus, I've hit enter. And so whatever your selection was, that's the one that we should select. Let's see. And then the menus know what the highlighted index is. So it seems like we only need to get the like the state of what the highlighted index is only actually matters to the menu and its children, because the items are children of menus. So yeah, we'll just do, we don't need to get that from the context. Let's just create our highlighted index equals -1. Just initialize that to -1, I guess. And then it's going to be highlighted index will be the state. Const this.state. Okay. And here actually we are extracting the children from props, so we can just do that. Okay, highlighted index, and so then here let's update our usage a little bit. Index, and then we'll be able to do who knows what with that. Okay, cool. And so then we can expose a method on the menu to update the highlighted index. So actually this will be bound, so we'll say update highlighted index and amount moved, move amount. So the reason that I'm doing a move amount instead of like increment and decrement, actually, yeah, no, we'll just do a highlighted index. It's because on my autocompletes that I implement, I like to allow users to hold down the shift key, and that will move 5 items. So that's kind of handy. And so we'll do a move amount. You can do +or -1, and then you could also implement like a shift key thing. Okay, cool. So we have this move amount thing. Then here's one other thing we need to consider is if we're at the bottom of the list and they hit down, we should go to the top of the list. And I've implemented this before, so I'm going to see if I can find that. Let's see. I could find it in Genie, I guess, but let me just see if I have this open already. Change highlighted item. Oh yeah, this is where things get a little bit tricky, but I think this will be okay. So here we have, yeah, so we need to have, we need a way to get the length. Oh, whoops, let's do. I'm going to change this to change. Update almost sounds like it'll do something by itself. Change is like, I'm going to do something to you. So that's why we're going to do that. What was that? Oh, no. Okay. So change highlighted index, move amount. And so we get the highlighted index from state. That's good. Get the base index. If it's in. Yeah. Okay, yep, we'll just leave this as null to begin with. Okay, so the base index will be -1 or where it is. Items, get filtered items, and I'm pretty sure the only reason we need the items is to get the last index. So what we're going to do is when items are rendered, they're going to find their parent menu and register themselves with the parent menu, which means this gets even more exciting because the menu will have its own context, so that items within it. You know what? I'm going to save that for later. I'm going to go back and make the assumption that there's only one menu that's being rendered. And switching it back over will not be like really difficult, I think. So, but it would be kind of difficult to implement it now, I've decided. So, yeah, we're just going to do this. And let's see. The input, we put component will unmount like this. So we'll do the same for the menu. Menu. Okay. Great. So now what this means is that the items actually don't care about the autocomplete context. They really only care about the menu in which they're rendered, which is kind of nice. So what we're going to do is I'm going to rename this context name thing to Autocomplete Context. And then inside of here, I am going to go back, oops, copy that and say this dot autocomplete equals that thing, and then this dot autocomplete dot input equals this. Okay, then I can say, we'll just go everywhere. Wow, I have that appearing a lot more than I expected. This dot autocomplete. Okay, and then we'll just do this dot, this dot. Okay, so then we'll also need to do the same setting in our constructors. How do we do this? Where did I do that? In the menu, I think? Nope, it was in the... Huh. Weird, okay. So this dot autocomplete dot context is autocomplete context. Then we'll put that in the constructor here as well. And here also. But yeah, so I can actually remove items from here and put the menu. So here we're going to make a const menu context. We'll do autocomplete menu. Okay. And then this will have some context types. We'll have static child context types. Will be that prop types object is required. I don't know if that is required actually makes any difference for this thing, but whatever. Then we'll say get child context return object this. Let's just make sure I did that right. Get child context types. It all looks good. Okay, cool. So then the item actually be menu context, and then this dot menu context to items.push. So our menu is going to need to have items, be an array. Okay, cool. So then we don't need to call this .getFilteredItems anymore. This will just be this.items.length. Yep. Base index plus move amount, and we'll loop around. Okay, so now that we've changed the one that's highlighted, because we were told to move the highlighted item based off of a key press from the input probably, then we want to, we don't need to re-render anything but the menu and its children. And so this will set the highlighted index to the new one and is open. Oh, we haven't actually talked about the open state, so we're going to assume that it stays open right now, and we'll get to that later. Okay, cool. And then we can get the highlighted index from the state, and we get the input value from the autocomplete state, and render the children. And then at that point, these will be re-rendered. So I've got stand up in about 12 minutes. So I'll be back this afternoon to try and finish this, because I probably need to deal with a couple things before stand up starts. So yeah, just to review, this would be a good thing for all of us. So we have this autocomplete, and it has a couple of things on it that allow you to render things how you like. And then we establish some context for ourselves. We have an input and a menu that we'll have access to, where these things can be shared, and they can share state from each other. We pass the instance of the autocomplete to our children, and then we render, whatever they want us to. And so then if you render menu or input inside of the autocomplete, then those will get the context that this autocomplete has established, where it's passing this instance. So if we look at the input, that is going to accept the autocomplete context. It's going to assign autocomplete, so we can use that throughout our stuff. It's going to allow you to specify your own OnChange, in addition to the one we have, which will update the input value. Yeah, and when it mounts, it's going to update the input value based off of your default value that you specify, which means that if you're passing that as a prop, then this props is going to have that default value. So we're going to pluck that off, and I'll deal with the linting issue there later. I wish that ESLint allowed you to ignore these things where you're just plucking things off. I suppose I could also say nullify the default value. Yeah. Okay, anyway. So yeah, then we're going to get the input value from the autocomplete state, and the reason that we need both of those, or the input value in the autocomplete state, is so that the menu has access to that, and so that when the input value changes, everything is re-rendered, because the input is the most important thing. So input value is going to be put into the value for our glamorous input, and and then with the menu, and OnChange, we're going to update the input value, update the state, everything gets re-rendered. Who needs Redux? Okay, so then we have our menu. It accepts autocomplete, and then it propagates itself as a menu. So that happens with this getChildContext. Should probably group those things. I don't know how to organize stuff in React components. I just kind of put them wherever. Generally, constructor goes at top. Generally, static things go above that, and members go below that, and then methods go at the bottom. That's kind of how I've done things. I don't know. Okay, then so then we have this change highlighted index, which we haven't actually implemented anything with yet, but I expect that will be triggered by two things. One, by the input when they hit the down or up arrows, and the other by the individual menu items on hover. Yeah, that makes sense. And you specify a move amount, -1, +1, or +5, +10, who cares? and we update what the index should be. And then when it's unmounted, it gets removed from autocomplete, so we don't have memory leaks, which is nice. And then render, we'll render the children, but it's a function, so we're going to call that and pass it the input value and the highlighted index. Input value is useful to the children, so it knows how to filter things out however they want to, and the highlighted index allows them to do something like, have some styles for which one is currently highlighted, because that would be really hard to use otherwise. Okay, cool. And then for the items, we need to implement something for these ones a little bit, but they get the menu from their context, so they can be rendered anywhere. Who cares where they are? They just as long as they're under a menu. And then for each of the items, we push the instance. I don't think we actually need to do that. We'll see what we need to do there. We might not have to do that. Maybe just push the props or something. Or like the item value. I don't know. We'll figure something out. And then component will unmount. We get rid of it, so we don't have that anymore. And then what we're going to render is actually just children, probably. But we'll need to have some event handlers for some things. So we're going to render actually an uppercase div. We'll spread this.props on it. And then we're going to compose, actually we'll just do this really quick. This.on, no, we'll do it later. To do hover handler, or mouse over handler. Okay, cool. I got to get going. So thanks everyone. It's been a blast, and I'll see you all later. I'll be right back. Ha. Bye.